And you carried some of the values that you learned from childhood into college, which
Absolutely.
makes sense. And that led towards you investing your time in certain ways, which, side hustles, let's get into that. I know we started the conversation, but tell me a little bit about some of the side hustles that you had in college.
Yeah. So aside from like little jobs, so I did have a couple jobs on campus. So I was a tutor and I would get paid for that. But that was maybe like 10, 12 hours a week. Periodically I would participate, like some colleges have like fundraising, like student fundraising campaigns where like you'll call alumni and stuff like that. I did that.
Ooh.
So that was another, I didn't even think about that until now we're talking about it, but that was another sales based, experience. And I did make some sales. So I did that for money, but then actual side hustles outside of organized jobs. It's so funny to share this, but my friends will laugh if they watch this. This is back in 2017, 2018. So this is when money went a little bit further. I didn't really, again, college, people drink and stuff like that. This is pretty obvious. I didn't really participate that much, at least on campus. And, there would be these huge frat parties. Northwood had a lot of frats and sororities, so I wasn't part of any. So I had friends that were part of them. And so I would ask if I could come pick up the cans from all these parties. And again, you're talking at such scale where it was actually meaningful money to me at the time, right? I didn't have, I was a broke college student. So to me, like $40-$50 was like, holy smokes. That's like a week and a half worth of groceries or gas money, whatever. I would do that consistently. I remember, guys, to the point where I was so obsessed with just collecting cans and bottles. Anytime I went to a gas station, they got those trash cans in the middle of the pumps and stuff like that. I'd look in there.
Just kind of got in the mindset of it.
I'd look in there. It was kind of gross, but I would find plenty of cans and bottles in there, and I just collect them and return them periodically. I would do this consistently, and I kept a tally of one time of how much I collected over time. It was hundreds of dollars. But I consider that the side hustle because I was taking my extra time to generate some sort of money, right? Or some sort of income.
Was it the thrill of the game or was it the money?
It was both.
Yeah.
Though that grocery money was valuable at the time. Yeah. And that money went a little bit further at that. It was, hard to believe. It was 7 years ago. But also it's just, this will stem into also the other businesses that I own too, because this bleeds into them. But it was just, it was interesting. I can't explain it. It was just fun. And I loved talking about it for some reason. It was kind of nerdy, but
that's what I'm curious about, because it's like you found enjoyment in searching for cans after parties and in trash cans right? And a lot of people were like, dude, that's not fun. But you're able to, and also same with slinging hot dogs and, selling waters at a football game. People are like, I don't know. Like, that seems like a lot of work, or that seems like something that's putting yourself out there, which could be uncomfortable and something that doesn't, but you found a way to turn it into a competition the first time. And then,
or just have fun with it. I just
not take it too seriously.
I never take anything too seriously. I'm not that serious. There are things in life that are serious, of course, but generally speaking, I just don't take myself that seriously. So yeah, I just enjoyed it. And then, I don't know, I got a thrill from it. And I had friends that would tag along and just do it with me for whatever reason. I remember this huge haul I got from a frat party, and there was just a garage full. I mean, it was chock full of cans. I mean, like, it took me like an hour to haul all the cans out. And I had I can't remember what car I had at the time. It was like a Jeep Liberty. So I think that thing had to be packed to the gills. I might have had to done 2 runs or something. But
just like a frequent flyer at Meyer or something. Like, man, you need to talk to Noah.
See me come in. And so, do you want me to go into how that goes into the online business?
Sure.
So, this was probably my most successful business, you could say. It was called Finance and Freedom. It's kind of like an online financial media brand. And essentially, it was nothing more than me. In the core of it was being on Instagram. I would say I was like a first mover in that realm because there wasn't many finance pages on Instagram at the time. So it was a fledgling space on Instagram. But it was called Finance and Freedom. And I would just talk about everything I found interesting, from just general business topics to economics, because I studied economics in college, to stocks, real estate, even though I wasn't necessarily some legendary investor, but I would just talk about certain topics that I found interesting. And sometimes I would analyze companies like on Instagram lives and stuff like that. And I would create posts and stuff like that. And over time, this was like late summer 2018 is when I really started it. It popped off for whatever reason, just because I was first mover and I was showing my face so people knew who I was. But I quickly grew from like 0 to 10,000 followers in like a month and a half. And I was like, okay, this is pretty weird. I was taken aback. I didn't know how to handle it. But one of the things that I documented and posted on that page was was a pop can and bottle haul. So one of my buddies, his name's Elijah. So shout out to him, because he literally recorded me going into a Meijer with all these cans and bottles and stuff like that and returning them at a Meijer in Midland. And, I just talked about why I did it, what the total amount was and stuff like that. And I kept a tally for my followers. And, it's social media, so you're going to be opening yourself up to hate and stuff. And so I would get some comments that were blazing me, for being a bum and everything, which I thought was hilarious, actually. But then others were like, oh my God, I started doing this now too. I'm in college. I'm going to the sororities and the frats, and I'm going to pick up all these cans and stuff. And so that page, so that was just one of the segments I had on that page. But I just continued sharing and talking about finance topics and stuff like that, and how I was making money and navigating personal finances in college. And to a lesser degree, I would also talk about my internship experiences, because I had 3 different internships when I was in college. I had 3 different companies in 3 different industries, and the page just continued to explode. So by the end of 2018, I had surpassed 50,000 followers, and I was generating millions of impressions on Instagram. And again, this is 2018, 2019 Instagram. So this, like, there was a lot of features that did not exist at the time there. And so, I would sell ad space on that Instagram in posts and captions and on Instagram stories. And so I was starting to generate income from that page and from that presence. I was starting to monetize the eyeballs. And so it got to the point where I was making like $2,000 a month. And I was like, I'm going to retire. I was like, This is crazy. So then fast forward to like March of 2019, at the start of 2019 through March, I had gone through like a 90-day period where I was gaining over 1,000 followers a day every day. So like 90 days consecutively, over 1,000 followers a day.
And how often were you putting content up? It
was like once or twice a day.
Okay.
So at night, after classes and stuff like that, I was just making these infographics and all these other things. And, I didn't have anyone else doing it. I figured it out. I can't remember it was part Canva, and I can't remember the other like free software I used to make these things. It was just, such a great experience. Like, I look back on it so fondly. But I didn't know what to do with it, because it had become so successful, to the point where in March of 2019, it surpassed 120,000 followers. And I had followers in over 100 countries, and I had over 100 million impressions. And I was talking to famous folks in the investing and finance space. Like, whatever you think about Grant Cardone, at the time I thought he was cool. I had been talking to him, Robert Kiyosaki as well. Again, whatever surrounds those guys is what it is. But I had been talking to him at the time, and I just thought it was incredible. But success is like oddly, or that was success relative to me, but it's oddly enough, it's overwhelming. So I didn't know what to do. Like, how do I expand it? How do I grow it? And this is probably one of my only regrets in life, is that in March of 2019, I sold that brand, and I sold it to a woman by the name of Genevieve Rockdector, and she's in Toronto, Canada. But she had a company called Grit Capital, which she just recently sold it, probably like a month or two ago. But I sold it to her at the time, and I made a large sum of money. And so, whatever student debt I had, paid it off. So I was all free. And then I just used the rest of it to invest in stocks at the time, which were like AbbVie, Apple, and at the time AT&T. So I don't want to go too much into the weeds there, but it just was an incredible experience. That was like my first successful business and then exit.